Last month brought the largest increase in manufacturing employment since 1998. Strongest growth in manufacturing in 12 years. The question is now, how do we keep that momentum going? How do we keep adding more and more jobs?
If we look historically at sustainability, if you look at just in the U.S., the Native American population when they were here, they were as sustainable of a culture as we would hope to get to someday. If you looked at their animal usage, if they harvested an animal, they used every single piece of that animal, from its hide to its horns to its meat. Everything was used, nothing was wasted. They were self-sufficient on their land. They weren't using any chemicals. They had a very low impact because they realized that their piece of earth was how they lived and it was part of them. And they treated it that way.
The morning light over the plains has waked the thousands who are off to enliven the factories of the vast Midwestern states.
As we started to progress outside of that and we started to hit the Industrial Revolution, the money in the industry boom was just huge and the money was there. And there wasn't a lot of emphasis put on scrap or cost of producing parts because the money was there from customers looking for more business, looking for more products so you could sell. And during the Industrial Revolution, they didn't know a lot of the consequences of what they were doing at that time. The chemical usage of some of the things, even here locally in Green Bay, the PCBs that they're using inside of the paper industry wasn't necessarily known, and they're pumping just tons and tons of it into the rivers. We know that today that was a very poor decision. Nobody went in grievously back then and said, we're going to use PCBs and we know they're bad and we're going to do it. The consequences weren't known. We're living with a lot of that Industrial Revolution unknown today, and we realize it. There's two areas where we really concentrate our sustainability efforts. The ability of a company to reduce its materials incoming, the ability of the company to reuse those materials as many times as possible, and then recycle them at their end of life. The second portion that we really concentrate on is energy management. For a couple of reasons. One is our energy consumption here is very large for a manufacturing facility. The other thing is it's a huge carbon footprint.
I spend most of my time working with architects and designers and building awareness with them as to what we do and how we do it, and trying to satisfy their needs as it relates to sustainable furniture design and manufacturing. And for us as a company, it's looking at things like the manufacturing process and removing solvent-based adhesives and solvent-based finishes out of the process so that ultimately the product, when they get it to the job site, whether it's in the corporate office or whether it's in a hospital environment or whether it's in an educational environment, that the product's not going to outgas. It's not going to be hazardous to the health of the individuals occupying the space. So that's key. And the second piece of that that's vital is really understanding what the materials are. There's a movement now underway to incorporate a greater percentage of recycled content. So using less virgin material and materials like the steel and the plastics that we use in the manufacturing process.
So what we came up with is essentially a waste sort, or we call a dumpster dive. We use this procedure to determine what we have in our waste stream coming out of the plant, and how much of it, to establish a baseline for our recycling operations to try and pinpoint items that we can recycle or want to recycle. So what we'll do is we have a form that we fill out. We take just a complete dumpster from one of the cells and we'll dump it out. And then what we will do is we will sort each item out and weigh it to give us an overall weight of the dumpster itself, but then also of each individual item. So as you can see, most of this here is plastic and stretch wrap, so we'll start by taking that out and weighing how much of that we have. The ultimate essentially would be that if somebody was going to get rid of one of their office chairs, they could take each separate component out of it and it would be recycled. So essentially we'd have nothing going into the landfill at all. Then once we have what's left actually out of the garbage that is garbage, we can pinpoint these items from an engineering standpoint and try to eliminate them from our waste stream. Instead of using this disposable towels that we throw away, we have actually launderable towels in the back of the plant that maybe they can use instead of these, so we don't have to throw them away. Number one, we don't have to buy them. Number two, the other launderable towels are already in use in the plant. We just need to utilize them in this area. And then we can work with our suppliers who send in the parts to us with this packaging that isn't recyclable, and have them make changes on their end to make it a cardboard or a paper type of packaging and get away from the foam, which isn't environmentally friendly. And then we also store our hazardous waste from our metals recycling process.
Okay, and that has to follow a whole process.
What we ought to be asking first and foremost, if we're using a hazardous waste, or if our process produces a hazardous waste, the first question we ought to ask is why? Why are we using this product? Are there alternatives? If there aren't alternatives, can we challenge our suppliers in universities to actually do research and development to come up with alternatives? And that is going on all throughout the world right now. The concept of sustainability is not about the environment. It's not about the economy. It's not about society or people. But it's about the combination of those and the alignment or synergy of those three things that actually are going to create a healthy, prosperous climate to do business, to do manufacturing, and a healthy environment and a healthy society.
What Paul helped us identify was that when you look at the triple bottom line, that we were slightly out of balance. When you look at consuming resources, for example, a company like Menasha, which is over 160 years old, where are we going to be in 160 years? We are a manufacturer of corrugated displays and cartons.
If you look here, this is the plant that we're in right now. This is the carbon footprint by month, the blue bar being the total carbon.
The tools that Paul brought to us, I think that the most effective tool that we did was what he called the compass, which was basically a way to kind of navigate through what was important to our organization and what different kinds of projects that we could actually take on effectively. We have a pretty ingrained lean manufacturing system in our company. And this is really, to me, the next evolution of lean manufacturing. It's taking your glass, kind of changing your glasses around lean manufacturing, starting to broaden the look that you have, and incorporating, for example, energy. So when you're making a change out in the facility, you're also focusing on the energy costs. You're focusing on how that affects employee well-being and their safety, and it's just kind of expanding what we're doing with lean. And lean is all about waste removal, and to me that's what sustainability is all about as well. How do we manufacture our product with the least amount of waste?
For sustainability, what it means to both myself and Menasha Packaging is a lot of different things. Over time it has encompassed a variety of areas, really first touched off by how we have always run this company, which is to make sure that both from a legal and ethical perspective that we always are treating the environment, meaning the communities that we operate within, like we live in them every single day. We look at how we dispose of our inks and things like that. We want to make sure that it's not taking the easy path that you can just throw them in a dump and hope that it's never seen again. That are there ways that you can regenerate that waste, but also can you even make it an income stream? And we've been pretty fortunate in the industry that we operate in that we're able to take a lot of our waste, turn it around, recycle it, and that ends up becoming the paper that we use again through our process. So it's a very sustainable solution when we're able to look at that.
You know, if you got to pay a utility bill, wouldn't you rather pay one that's less so that you can use that money to invest in your company? That only makes sense. So changing out your lights, for example, is an absolute no-brainer, and yet so many companies don't do it.
And we are a manufacturer of away-from-home paper products, towels, tissue, napkins, facial tissue, products like that you'll use in restaurants, hotels, commercial office buildings. We've been making recycled paper since 1927. Our company started as a forest company over in Europe, and they realized that you really needed to be sustainable in order to maintain a business plan. So every time they harvested one tree, they were planting 3.
What are the tolerances? I mean, how do you know if you're okay?
We have a chart we go by for everything.
Okay.
Customers are definitely demanding more sustainability, whether it's customers that are merely supplying like a state contract and there's some kind of requirement that says it needs to be a Green Seal or Eco-Logo third-party certified, or it needs to have this much post-consumer content. We also have the customers that are very far ahead of the curve in terms of understanding sustainability. So they're looking at life cycle assessment, they're looking at end of life and the other portions of sustainability besides just what goes into a product. So is it reducing usage? Does it help me control cost? Does it help reduce the amount of waste that's being generated? So we have a broad spectrum of customers that are really demanding this for many reasons.
We're really more on a journey towards sustainability. It's not exactly a destination. Sustainability, you think of sustainability, it's around, it's a systematic approach or systems thinking approach. And you're always, you're thinking global or globally in nature, but you're having to act local. So you have to consider what's important at each facility in each state, so that we're constantly out in front of what we may have to be aware of or responsible for in the future.
We're on top of the SEC building. That's our office complex here in Neenah, Wisconsin. This is our first entry into the renewable energy evaluation. There, we're looking at solar photovoltaic panels to make electricity for our office building. In a typical year, it'll produce about 25 megawatt hours of electricity. An average home in Wisconsin uses about 1 meg a month.
We're going to be evaluating a new wind turbine technology here at our site here. We're putting up 4 20 kilowatt turbines here, and the kind of a cool thing about this is the turbines are actually going to be produced in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. The towers produced in Appleton. The foundations were put in by a company right next door to us, right here in the town of Menasha, and the electrical work was also done by a contractor right here. So we're keeping this development of renewable energy. It's local.
Sustainability is the 21st century economic model. It is going to make you survive and thrive.
Manufacturing will always be with us because as humans, we have wants and needs. And whatever we want or need needs to be designed and created and built. And that's manufacturing. Manufacturing workers today and into the future will need to be highly educated.
About 20% of the jobs in the United States require a 4-year degree. And yet about 60% of our high school students go on to try to get a 4-year degree. About half of them drop out, or at least don't complete a degree within 6 or 7 years. So it's obvious just by looking at those kind of numbers that again, our education system is misaligned. Let me reiterate that it's good to go and get a 4-year degree and learn how to communicate and learn how to do public speaking and learn how to look from an historical perspective and how to research and how to ask ethical questions. Now, if we could put technical skills on top of that, then we have exactly the workforce that we need.